A new report shows the average Canadian household has a staggering $96,000 in debt. And joining us now to make sense of this and other business-related news is Nick Bontis, of course, a award-winning professor from the DeGroote School of Business. Nice to have you with us again. Can't help but notice the Olympic flame. What do you call that?
It's the torch.
A torch.
That's
there
right.
we go. At a loss for words. We're going to get to that in just a second, though. Those numbers really surprised a lot of people. 96,000. Did they surprise you in any way?
Well, happy Friday to you, Taz.
Thank you.
$96,000 is a shocking number. First of all, we have to get smarter with the way we're spending our money. $96,000 for household debt is a 6% increase from last year, which means we're spending more, but we're not making more.
Yeah.
The average household in Canada only makes $45,000 a year, which means that we're spending $2 for every $1 we're taking in. That 2-to-1 ratio is not going to last forever. All we have to do is look at other countries and see how they're collapsing under their debt loads vis-a-vis Greece in Europe right now. So we have to get a little bit smarter with our household debt, especially for those of us that have 3 or 4 or even more credit cards in a household. That's way, way too many, because that's the most expensive type of debt that we've got.
Can you explain what some of the driving forces are behind those numbers? Is it our mortgage? Is it car payments? What makes up a big portion of that number?
Sure, Taz. One of the problems is that people don't appreciate that not all debts cost the same. For example, mortgage rates are at all-time lows now, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whereas credit card debts are upwards of 21, 22, 23%. So people are spending just as much money on their credit card debts as they are on their mortgage debts. What we need to understand is mortgages are cheap. Spend the money on your home. Don't spend money on that big plasma television or that big automobile or other big purchases that you're using your credit card, because that's very expensive debt.
So there's good and bad debts. You need to manage those. Any other tips for any maybe family members out there that are wondering, when you get yourself into a hole, sometimes it's so hard to think of what you should do first. Do you pay off the credit cards first? Do you cut them up? I mean, where do you start?
Well, first thing that you need to appreciate is this idea of a ratio. The money that's coming in versus the money that's going out. And there's a rule of thumb here. By the time your household, the two principal earners, let's say the husband and the wife, turn 45 years old, you should be at a 1-to-1 ratio, which means for all the dollars that are coming in, you should be clearing out the debt, which means the mortgage is the first to go. The credit card debt is the tip that I have to give everybody else. One credit card is manageable. Make sure that you try to pay it off as much as possible at the end of every month. But once you get to that second, third, or even 4 credit cards per household, then you're going to be in deep, deep trouble. So try to rationalize those expenditures. And the final tip that I have for everybody, which is a simple lesson, budget 101. Try to do a calculation. How much money you're going to spend this month versus how much money you're going to bring in this month.
And then stick to it.
That's right.
Always the tough part. Now, we were talking about mortgages a few minutes ago. Finance Minister Jim Flaherty announcing tougher restrictions on getting those mortgages. How do you think that's going to affect a first-time home buyer, for example?
Well, the first-time home buyers are just going to have to be a little bit more particular about the type of home that they're purchasing. What's ended up happening over the last couple of years is that people are jumping in. First-time homeowners, these are couples that just got married who are buying their first home, are jumping into homes that are way too big, way too rich, upwards of $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. And they're doing that because they think they can survive the 1 or 2% mortgage rates. The problem, of course, is once those mortgage rates go up, then all of a sudden we have a cash flow squeeze. So we have to be a little bit more particular about the type of house that we're going to purchase when it's our first house.
So maybe be more realistic. Don't dream as big, at least when it comes to big payments like that.
Absolutely.
That leads to the other question, because we're hovering just below the 2% point with their interest rates. Is there a concern? Do you think the finance minister maybe was highlighting that interest rates might go a little bit higher than we had anticipated, or what was the motivating factor behind the announcement?
Well, I think the motivating factor was actually all the defaults that people were having on their mortgage payments. Yes, we are at all-time lows for mortgage rates, but they're going to go up. They're not going to stay at 1, 2, 3% forever. And what people don't realize that is if the mortgage rate right now is 2% and it jumps to 4%, which is not a big jump.
No.
That's double the payment, right? And people just don't appreciate, oh my God, double the mortgage payment. How am I going to survive that when I only have limited income coming in?
Absolutely. Another big story this week, of course, Toyota's troubles seem to be worsening. We started off with a few recalls. Now we're at 8.5 million vehicles. Do you think that the company has been managing the story in a positive way? Have they been doing a good PR job on this one?
They've actually been doing a terrible job, Taz. You got to be ahead of the crisis, not behind the crisis. See, Tiger Woods this morning, he was behind the crisis.
Absolutely.
David Letterman was ahead of the crisis. So the problem with Toyota is that it's not going to end. It was the brakes at first. Now it's become the steering, and it's going to become something else later on. Why? Because cars are very complex things. They have thousands and thousands of mechanical and digital parts. Something's bound to break down. And the other warning that I have for everybody is it's not going to just be Toyota. Toyota's the one that's in the forefront of the media right now, but let's face it, Chrysler, GM, and all the rest of the manufacturers around the world also have the same types of systems that Toyota cars have as well. So we all need to be very, very careful with our cars.
So, I mean, assuming that they've done a bad job, and I think most people would agree at this point, how do you turn things around? How do you turn this into a good news story? I know the president now, Toyota's president, is planning on actually being present at that congressional hearing. Is that going to be, that's probably a must for him. He has to show face and turn up. Yeah.
CEO Toyota of Toyota has an opportunity to come clean. And the way he's going to come clean is going to go down to Washington, D.C., and he is going to bow as deeply as possible. Because
not like
that's
that one you just saw.
Yeah. Because when you only have a half bow, that means, okay, you know, something's going on, but I'm not really sorrowful. He has to show that he's sorrowful and that he's doing the things that are required to fix the problem. And I think at the congressional hearings of Washington, they're going to see that Toyota's actually moving ahead with all the problems, and hopefully they'll have them all fixed.
What about the millions of Canadians that have a Toyota at home right now? Should we be worried that the resale value of our cars, our automobiles, is going to drop, and has that in fact happened?
Well, Toyota's actually been quite famous for having high resale values, with Honda as well. The first thing that you should be worried about is not so much your resale value, but fixing your car. Go to your dealer right away and get that chip that goes into the brakes to make sure that you don't have an accident. And with regards to resale value, the answer to the question, Taz, is we don't know yet, because
still too early?
Yeah, it's still too early. We don't have an idea of the liquidity of the market for resale yet.
Okay. Now, as I didn't know the name of the torch, I was at a loss for words. I have never been this close to a torch, an Olympic torch at that. And you had a chance to carry one of these.
That's right. I had the thrill, December 20th, downtown Hamilton on Main Street, to run with the Olympic torch with my family. And now it has a prominent place right above my fireplace at home.
That is quite an honor. I didn't know you get to actually keep one of those. Well, let's talk about the Olympics, or as some are referring to, the glitch games. There's no way to predict what the weather's going to be like, but there have been other problems. The Olympic cauldron that didn't light properly, the snow clearing machinery that's not working. Is this going to be a bad news story for Canada? Are tourists going to say, we're not going to go to that second-rate country?
No, I don't think it's going to be a bad story. Everybody's got glitches, but you know what we have in Canada? We have wonderful people, and everybody comments about how friendly the Canadians are. Even Colbert, the American, says, wow, these Canadians are friendly. So all these people are going to come in. Over 400,000 guests are coming to Vancouver. They're going to have a wonderful time. There's parties every night downtown, in Whistler, all over all the facilities, and you know what? It's going to be a positive economic impact for Vancouver. The glitches, you know what, 2-3 years, we're going to forget about them. We're not even going to remember them.
So much more we want to get to, and we're running out of time, though, but I want to ask you about the gold medal winners so far. They have a great opportunity now to get some sponsors behind them. Could that also benefit the rest of the nation?
Absolutely. I think a gold medal actually has a financial value, and that's about $500,000 in endorsement deals.
Wow.
So for those 3 Canadians that have won so far, including Mr. Bilodeau, because he's a francophone, can speak English and French very well, and he has such a wonderful story with his big brother that I'm sure some of the big sponsors, McDonald's, they're going to catch up on him and offer him that wonderful endorsement deal. So it's going to be a wonderful field story for Canada.
And many more to come, I would hope.
Many more to come. Hopefully tonight with Miss Hollingsworth in the skeleton, I predict another gold.
All right. Well, that is Nick Bontis, Bontis on Business. Check out his website, nickbontis.com. Always a pleasure having you with us. We appreciate your time. Thanks so much,
Happy
Nick.
Friday.
See you next week. Thanks so much.